What's up, and welcome into Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. Thanks so much for downloading the podcast and checking us out on YouTube, youtube.com. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and comment to everything we do on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood, as we're presented by the Advantage Dealer Group. Make sure you put that in your Google search, Advantage Dealer Group. Around Chicagoland, there's nothing like Advantage Dealer Group. You're looking for a car, something new for 2026, use what I've used, and that's Advantage Dealer Group to find the newest ride for 2026. Advantage Dealer Group. Let's talk about the NBA playoffs. Let's talk about the Chicago Bulls and maybe a little WWE with our guest Evan Cohen from Unsportsmanlike. You can hear it at 5 a.m. Central Time on ESPN 1000. Of course, you can find it on ESPN2 and ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. In the fillings of your teeth, you can find Evan Cohen everywhere as he teams with Chris Canty and Michelle Smallman for Unsportsmanlike. Always a fun show every single morning before we come on the Cap and J Hood Morning Show, weekday mornings at 6 a.m. on ESPN 1000, also on the ESPN Chicago app. Time to talk about the future of the Bulls. Are they going to have a new coach? Are they going to have a new general manager and vice president of basketball operations? How's that work? Is it 3 jobs? Is it 2 jobs? How many jobs do the Bulls have to fill here with their new search? And, of course, the NBA playoffs, very exciting. We're going to talk a little bit about what we can expect in the first round and more with Evan Cohen as we talk NBA with Evan Cohen from Unsportsmanlike right here on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. And there he is, folks. There he is, Evan Cohen, Unsportsmanlike. There it is. He is in the he's on the not only on ESPN, but he also is in the fillings of your teeth. You're looking for Evan Cohen and Unsportsmanlike, you can find him anywhere. Joining us here on Under the Hood. Sir, how are you?
I went to the dentist yesterday. What a reference. You actually knew that, of course. Yeah, of course you did. Hello, how are you? Okay. Maybe I have fake teeth if I'm sitting there with one Pat McAfee and maybe he's calling me out like he did Cody with the fake teeth and the lisp and the suits from Ric Flair. Ooh, baby, did it get personal recently?
It did, and I need to talk to you about this because I just think it is amazing. For someone who's been watching wrestling for a long time, for me, there's so many, Evan, promoters that wish they had this kind of crossover, this type of opportunities to bring wrestlers out onto ESPN, and they didn't have this opportunity. But for you, we have to tell the story of you being a lapsed fan and now back into professional wrestling. What is this like for you to have this parade of WWE superstars coming on your show on a regular basis?
It's a great way of saying it. So I grew up a huge wrestling fan. Attitude Era was my prime in high school, early college. And I would say when I graduated college till probably 2 or 3 years ago, I was kind of – so there's like 10 to 15 years maybe, where maybe 15 to 20, J-Hood, where I was kind of out of it. And now I'm not your level, obviously, but – I am watching it. I'm going to it. I build schedules around it based on because of my children and specifically my son, who's 12 years old, who's obsessed with it. I'm texting you and Gabe and Brian during GKW on Thursday nights when you guys are on. I'm listening to your weekend shows on SiriusXM, Busted Open. I'm all over it. And then, the craziest thing is, early on, when I got to ESPN and I got to Unsportsmanlike, wrestling would come up every so often. And Canty, Chris Canty, one of my co-hosts, grew up a huge wrestling fan, but he was also a lapsed wrestling fan also. And then we did this bit with somebody that you've known forever and worked with, Michelle Smallman, who, our other co-host, she didn't watch wrestling at all. We're like, hey, let's just try something here. Let's have her watch wrestling matches and review it. She didn't understand wrestling so much so she didn't know what they wore in the ring. She came in and was like, why are these guys wearing Speedos? And we're like, what? As if she had literally had never seen it before. Mm-hmm. And I think that we all saw one segment, this is probably 1.5 years ago, of how much, you don't want to only judge on this, you know this better than anybody, but how much it blew up on social and how much people loved the idea of us talking wrestling. And it blew up. And then we all kind of said to each other, we need to capitalize on this. It wasn't when everyone was doing it. It was when everyone was about to do it. And at the time we did that, we had no idea about the ESPN deal. Then the ESPN deal happens. And now, as you know, and you've alluded to, we get every single big name coming through our show, and not just on the show, but in studio with us. Cody Rhodes came in on Tuesday, gave me a big hug, and looks at Canty and says, "Oh, you weren't here the last time I was here," because he was on paternity leave. He just had a baby boy. And so, like, crazy. They were like Seth Rollins, who you've known forever. Yeah. We've had on a million times, right? CM Punk, same thing. It's just wild. There's a couple we haven't had, but Triple H, and I say that to try to get them now, Stephanie McMahon, etc. But it really is the most amazing. I know I'm rambling, but it's important, I think. It's the most amazingly relatable topic, because I think, and you and I have talked about this, there's a throwback to childhood that people still love. And I remember when your co-host, Brian Rowitz on GKW, when he and I were hosting together, he was producing / sidekick co-host, whatever role you want to say. He and I were together on ESPN West Palm. And every so often, we'd randomly break out a wrestling topic. Mm-hmm. And again, you don't want to solely judge it on this. Never an open phone line anytime we did a wrestling topic. And we realized, oh, we're actually in the heart of this, because back in the day, South Florida, West Palm Beach, always had wrestling events. These people all want to hear this. When I was on Sirius XM and Babs and I would do anything wrestling, blow up. People love it. And now it's so mainstream, and it's so much a huge part of the ESPN brand that I have really been fortunate to take advantage of it, and it's made me want to watch it even more.
I just think it's fascinating when I see Cody Rhodes, on your show, part of SportsCenter, and just be able to talk about wrestling just like we talk about basketball or like we talk about the NFL. It is a seamless transition to what used to be taboo. When Dusty Rhodes was around as the NWA champion or representing Jim Crockett, he could not get television time. It's like, no, wrestling, no, we do sports here. We don't do wrestling. Yeah, you might be on TBS, and even Skip Carey right there on TBS during the Braves games back in the day, they would have the read, and they'd say, "Oh, World Championship Wrestling coming up at 6:05. That should be a thrill. That's not real. Ric Flair against Tully Blanchard on TBS." And just like make fun of it, even though it's on the same channel. So there was no synergy back then. They could not get the respect from the mainstream. And now to watch it now, I just think I know I'm a longtime wrestling fan, but it still blows my mind that here's an NFL highlight or here's an NBA highlight. Oh, and here's something about WWE. That's amazing to me how far we've come.
So let me ask you a question about this. As the business mind, sports broadcasting mind that you are, and you are brilliant with this, I know you love that. As the wrestling purist, not the broadcaster, Jonathan Hood sitting in his basement as a young kid in Chicago watching this, growing up loving this. How do you like it? Is it weird? Does it bother you in some case? I know you don't like Unreal. I know that bothers you. Yeah. The behind the scenes, like the kayfabe part of it, the too revealing of it. But like, how does the wrestling fan part of you, not the broadcaster, feel about this?
No, I love it because I love it because for WrestleMania highlights as a kid, maybe you get 30 seconds at a clip. It's kind of like the water skiing squirrel at the end of the sportscast, and watch this. Hulk Hogan slams Andre the Giant. WrestleMania 3. How great is that? The Pontiac Silverdome. All right, back to you, Nancy. It'd be something like that. Or you had to wait for George Michael's Sports Machine. Had to wait for that show because he cared about wrestling and would have a film crew filming what was going on at wrestling and treat it just like the other sports. Is the only outlet that had the respect for wrestling or the genre of wrestling was George Michael's Sports Machine. So again, it just blows my mind. I just think it's great that wrestling is getting this type of acclaim.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it that way. One piece of one thing that I guess I'm a little confused about is you said you like the idea of breaking it down like it's a sporting event. Sometimes when I'm doing that, I do wonder whether or not that's the wrong thing to do. Like, I think to their credit on Get Up and First Take, they do more big picture, like favorite WrestleMania moments, best wrestlers, and that's smart to do in a shorter form because TV segments are shorter, obviously. I'm sitting there and I'm asking these guys today, I asked Peter Rosenberg and Big E joined us. Because they're on the WWE shows on the ESPN app.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, all right, so next 10 years, if I told you one of these three guys became the biggest star in the history of wrestling, which one would it be? Oba, Trick, or Javon Evans?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then they're answering it. We're breaking it down. And it's like we are breaking down, on Tuesday night's Heat Hornets game in the last few minutes in the LaMelo and Kobe White shot and Tyler Hero shot. Is that right to do? Or is that too presumptive? Like we're actually breaking it down. You know what I'm saying, J Hood?
Yeah, but the question that you ask is the same question you'd ask on Sportsmanlike about quarterbacks, about the future of the game.
Yeah.
See, and again, I'm just a listener, you're just hosting, and there's a difference.
Right.
There's a difference. I'm the listener in the car or listening on the podcast on Sportsmanlike, and you're hosting. So you don't hear what I hear. What I hear is you being able to talk about storylines in sports more so than the X's and O's. You can get that. Yeah, that's what Chris is there for from the athlete standpoint, from the football standpoint. But a lot of your show, a lot of your show is based on the what ifs and the storylines, just like WWE. When you have WWE guys on, you know what they want to talk about? Their story, about them and their story. And just like when you talk about sports, the teams that you talk about are the storyline of that team or that player, not instead of the X's and O's. And so to me, that's why it meshes perfectly. When you talk about wrestling and you talk about sports, you do it the same way. And that's what the wrestlers, I think, appreciate even the most.
Can you answer the question I asked, though, about not to you, to them? If I told you one of those three would become the biggest star in wrestling history over the next 10 years, which one would it be?
It's Obafemi. It's Obafemi, followed by Trick Williams. Yes, it's Obafemi. It's always the big guy first. Yep. He's getting Goldberg chance, but his name's Oba somehow. So he's getting the Goldberg
chance. On the mic.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And I like the other night when there's the Paul Heyman little tease. I'll take you, after the match, there's always kind of a spot with me kind of thing. That was interesting. I like that.
He's pro wrestling's Wemby because it comes out of nowhere. No one expected to be that good for Wemby. You saw the size, but did you know that he can be able to play all 5 positions at one point in the season? Bring the ball up?
Do math in a press conference. That's the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, Wemby, that's a good comparison. Wemby is the most ready to be a superstar immediately maybe I've ever seen. And Oba feels like he's ready to be a superstar immediately upon arrival. And I know that we had O'Shea Jackson Jr. and TJ Jefferson from the No Contest podcast on the other day, and they were saying, hey, this ain't new to us. We've been hyping this for a year, right? And you guys have been talking about Obafemi on GKW, and you know how I know that? Because I thought you were talking about Obafemi Ayambadejo, the former Dolphins fullback that I used to have on ESPN. And I'm like, wait, that guy's a wrestler now? No, seriously. Remember Obafemi and Brandon Ayambadejo?
Yes. Why are you ridiculous? Why are you this way? What are you? Why are you this way?
I'm just saying. So Oba is a very prepared superstar upon arrival. But I like the people headlining the company right now. Mm-hmm. I love Cody Rhodes. I can't get every time I go to a match and he's there past the curfew and they yell at him to stop signing autograph for kids because it's going to cost them more money to stay in that building. Seth, I don't love what's going on with Seth right now, only because of the fact that clearly he's been banged up. Let's find a role to get him going. I want Seth front and center. I think Seth's an amazing character. I think Seth Rollins and his ability to lie with a smile and you don't feel insulted by it is amazing.
Right. Yeah.
Punk's a lifer, and the fact Punk has come back in a way to me where it almost feels like he's on that Triple H path.
Mm-hmm.
Where you wonder if he and Becky excuse me. He and his wife are the next version of Triple H and Stephanie. And like, could they run things? AJ Lee, yeah. Could they run things? Roman's interesting. I get the sense that people are actually bothered that he doesn't show up all the time, that he's not a week to week. Like, I don't get the sense that's a bit. I get the sense that, and that, I guess, J Hood, that's what I like. I like the McAfee stuff, whether you like it or not, and he's obviously amazing. What they're doing is they're listening to the customer and the consumer, and they're playing it out. Like that's an internet angle. The TKO, the RA manual is played out like on the internet, basically.
Once again, that's a sports tie-in in which we blur the lines as hosts, right? It's like, this is my opinion, but also the bottom of the comments section says this. Well, now we may not say it overtly, but we will mix it into the conversation of, well, some people say this, and I feel this, and now we blend that conversation, right? So for me personally, I have a problem with some of the creative because WrestleMania is supposed to be this person against this person, and let's ramp up to the event. There's a lot of blurring of the lines, which means that WrestleMania is different than WrestleManias in the past, in which this person against this person. Now I feel like what's happening at WrestleMania will continue on to Backlash and other events moving forward. Usually, whatever the events are at WrestleMania, the story ends at WrestleMania. And then now it's a new season, right? I don't think they're doing that this year. It's different.
So instead of it being the Super Bowl, it's the Daytona 500?
I think it is.
Start season?
That's right.
Wow. That's a good job by you.
That's a good job by you.
I always want to pepper you with more questions now.
Wait. This is the Evan Cohen experience. Instead of me being able to ask my yellow pad filled of questions for Evan, okay,
I have my white pad. Don't read into that.
Well, that's not surprising by you. But I have my yellow pad because I'm for everybody, and so I have it here.
That's the truth.
Well, I'm just an inclusive person. That's the way I roll. Always. No yellow pad, no show. So no podcast. So instead of him just allowing me to ask him just point by point, he turns the tables. He's just doing it earlier than usual. Usually a 30-minute mark, then he turns the tables. But now I'm not going to allow you to do that because if you have one other wrestling thought, I will entertain it. But I do need help with the Bulls. But first, go right ahead. Do you have any other questions for me?
You could only watch one match at WrestleMania. Which one would it be?
Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar, which is the true main event.
But it's not the main event.
Right.
Okay, so take that out because you've obviously you're on the Oba hype train right now. So take anything Oba, put it to the side. One match, Oba's not a part of it. What are you watching?
It is Roman Reigns against CM Punk. The reason why is because there's no nonsense, there's no falderall, there's none of that. It's just the match.
Falderall? Is that the word of the day? Did Smalls put you up to this?
Hold on, let me use my phone. There it is. There we go. There's my net. I do the phone thing with it. You got to do that. Falderall.
You know it. You know it.
Yeah, you gotta have the phone there to do it that way properly.
Right.
You say.
If you could eliminate one match from the card, what would it be?
See, I like everything that they have. I'm actually disappointed there isn't more. But I know this is not AEW, so or you're there all night watching wrestling until midnight.
I was at SmackDown for about 100 hours in Florida a few weeks ago. I couldn't believe how long it was.
See, I like the card. I don't have I like everything that they're doing. Ladder match, maybe, but then I'd like Tiffany Stratton to be on the card, and she's not. Also, there's several others that should be on the card that are not. But it just shows you about wrestling. Everybody doesn't deserve to be on the main show. But right. I mean, there's several that should. But I like the card as is. I wish there was more.
Who's not on the card? Who's not on the card that you would have put on the card?
Tiffany Stratton to be involved somehow in the ladies match or being a part of a tag team. I think there's a tag team women's scramble that's happening, I believe.
Okay.
Is that night 2, night 1, night 2? I think I would have had her be part of it. Io Sky's not on WrestleMania. How does that work? Michael Cole says she's the most purest wrestler on the roster and not on WrestleMania. That's a tough one.
Well, there's one other guy who's not a part of it that I want to be a part of it, but I'm sure they'll find a way in, but not in the ring.
Oh my God. Oh my God. He will be a part of it.
I need Danhausen as much as possible.
This is amazing. How sonically that he's been able to deliver.
Now my baseball team's involved. Did you see this?
No.
He uncursed the Mets. That guy who works, the guy who works for The Rock, Brian Gewirtz.
Yes. Yeah.
He tweeted maybe Danhausen needs to uncurse the Mets, and Danhausen responded uncursing the Mets, who have lost 6 games in a row. Let me see if I could find this here. What did Danhausen say? Where are you, Danhausen?
It just shows you, Evan, the platforms matter. He's been doing this gimmick for years, you know. He did this in AEW. He's been doing this in Independence. This whole thing at You Are Cursed is amazing. I'm in Chicago at the United Center. He's introduced and he is booed heavily. No one wanted him in Chicago. No one liked that act because it was an AEW act, right? But now you put him on that WWE platform and now everyone wants to see him. It is amazing how that works.
All right, here it is. Oh, no, the Mets lost 7 in a row. I said 6, I think. So SNY, which is the Mets television network, tweeted out the graphic of the Mets losing. This guy who works for the Rock and used to work for WWE, Brian Gewirtz.
Yeah.
I feel like he may be from my town originally, if we can figure out where he's from.
So.
If at Danhausen AD can uncurse the Mets, I will do everything in my power to get his face in the side of a truck. Danhausen responds, Dealhausen. Now, where was Danhausen's face in the truck? Oh, this is amazing. All right, go through the yellow legal pad. Here we go.
I need your help with the Chicago Bulls, sir. We have not discussed this since there was change with Mark Eversley and Arturas Carnicelos being let go. And then as we talk about this, we don't know if Billy Donovan is back with the Bulls. 2 first-round draft picks and $65 million in cap space. So what do we do? How do we fix the Bulls? Are there names that you'd like to see the Bulls be able to go after?
I need to know which path you want me to walk you down. Do you want me to walk you down the path of acquiring the most possible draft picks, Oklahoma City style? Or do you want me to – that's A. B is most possible draft picks while potentially fielding a competitive team, B. Or C, try to have them win immediately. What would you like?
Well, C is out because $65 million in cap space is fool's gold. So let's not do that. Okay, let's build.
Maybe not. But
let's build. Well, I'm not trying.
What if I told you Kawhi's contract got voided?
Well, I'm going to jam this team with veterans that are going to be gone the year after. I'm going to do that, and while I build. I'm not looking for the playoffs, by the way, in the next couple of years for the Bulls.
Okay. Well, that's different then. Okay? That's different. Because one path is call Philadelphia and say, how much would you give me to take Embiid? How much would you give me to take Paul George? That's a path. Okay? Golden State. How much would you give me if you need to maneuver Giannis, Kawhi, LeBron to take Jimmy Butler? Would you give me a first? Let's just let Giannis, they would need that. Let's say Kawhi, LeBron, where they may actually have some extra picks, where they say, here, we'll give you a first. We're going to dump Jimmy on you. Which, by the way, he never has to play another game for them. They could flip him again. There's that. Like, do you want bad contracts? Because that's also part of it. Because, okay, I'm just going to use what I know with my team, Miami. Tyler Hero is an expiring contract, who is a very good player. Andrew Wiggins, if he opts in, is an expiring contract. You're saying to me, you want to use your cap space with veteran players that'll be positive influences that are on expiring deals. Those 2 guys are that. Yes. What are you giving me for that then?
Well, I've got a bushel basket filled with second-round draft picks for you. I got that.
So then,
a lot of those.
But then you're taking the players off of my hands. That means I should be giving you something, right?
Yeah.
So what I don't think they should do, and what I think you and I are both saying is, the fool's gold would be, don't all of a sudden think because player X is a free agent and you could off Norman Powell. Again, I'll just use my team. Norman Powell is a free agent. Make him an offer he can't. No, don't offer him anything. Like, I would take on. I really, really, really like the idea of taking on bad contracts with players that can actually contribute that you would get paid off to take, even if it's a top 10 protected pick, right? I kind of like that, Jay Hood. That's where my mind goes with this team. What have you been thinking about with that?
So yes, and hopefully to flip. I don't want to even get close to the play-in. I don't want to even deal with that because I could get veterans then get me to a certain level in the East. I don't need that in a new regime. Not right away. I'm not looking for the playoffs at all. That's not the answer. I know that's the answer for Michael Reinsdorf. For Michael Reinsdorf, it's to have the lights on late in April for a play-in or a possible playoff. That's not where the Bulls are right now. They don't have enough talent to sustain. They're not a team that's on the come. So my point is that for a new GM, for a head coach, I need to be able to continue to stockpile more first-round picks, and I'm not ready to win yet. I need to be able to grow organically. I don't need a quick fix. And this is where the rubber meets the road between Michael Reinsdorf and whoever the new GM is as far as philosophy.
Okay, so if you're going to say you want as many picks as possible, right? You just said that.
Yeah.
And you don't care about making the playoffs. You don't care about making the playoffs. But here's where I need to understand something. You did also say that you want to have the books cleared for 27 free agency. Is that correct?
Sure.
Well, see, that's where I don't know how I can do that then. Because in order to get as many picks as possible, you're going to need to get paid off to take on some of the worst contracts. It's not a bad contract if it expires after the year. If I said to you, just for example, the Chicago Bulls offered you Joel Embiid, and you then have to, I'm just trying to think if you would not Chicago Bulls. The Sixers offered you Joel Embiid, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And it was Joel Embiid and 1 first, and you give something back that maybe they could use, but is it not consequential for you? I'm just looking here at the roster of guys that they would maybe want.
So I have an attraction for a year.
But no, he's under contract for many years. He's under contract for 3 more years, the worst contract in the league.
No, I understand. But ultimately that is bringing someone in that people would want to see, but hopefully not be so good that I'm going to be in a false hope playoff spot.
Maybe, maybe not. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't know how you go about this. Do you think they have a shot at Giannis?
No.
Okay. Do you think if Anthony Edwards was potentially available, which I don't think he's necessarily going to be, do you think they would have a shot at him?
No, I don't think so.
Do you think Kawhi, if he is made a free agent, would want to sign there?
I would not if I was Kawhi, because I'd look around and say it's the Kawhi and the Kawhiettes. Who am I going to play with?
Then it's clear. We have a plan. Your thought is they're not going to be good for a while, any way you cut it. So the best way to be good is to get as many picks as possible. And the best way to get as many picks as possible is taking on the worst contracts in the league. So definitively, my answer to your question, how do you fix the Bulls? Come up with a list of the 5 worst contracts in the league and call those teams and figure out who gives you the most to take them on. And you're actually going to use your salary cap space, in essence, to buy first rounders. You're not actually doing that, but you're saying to Philadelphia, 2 first rounders, we'll take Joel. We'll give you, who would be Jalen Smith? I don't know, somebody that could be useful for them, right? And then you're saying, okay, just thinking of where other, maybe you're taking Paul George too, for that matter. I don't know. Whatever other bad contracts you would say around the league that you would look. DeJounte Murray does not feel like a great contract in New Orleans right now, right? That's what I'm getting at here. I don't know how else you do that unless you just say no big free agent signings, no deals more than 1 year, all deals with guys that are late in free agency that don't have anywhere else to go, where maybe you give them $2 to $5 million more than they would have gotten elsewhere on a 1-year deal that you could flip if they're good at the deadline.
Right.
Norman Powell is actually a perfect example. He's looking for a 3-year, $60 million deal. He's not getting that. The Bulls say, all right, fine. We'll give you 1 year, $22 million, knowing if he's good, we may be able to get a first from a team that needs another scorer at the deadline. Maybe do things like that.
And also, I think that along with that plan means that you're going to need a new head coach. Billy Donovan did not come here to coach young talent. when he was done with Oklahoma City, he was going to get on a boat until Arturas Karnisovas said, well, we kind of need you here as a top shelf hire. It's like, nah, I'm going to go away for a while. Then no. Here's the contract. And Billy came, and the Bulls did have some success. I just think that Billy Donovan, if that is the plan of whoever the GM is, and this is why this is asked backwards, Billy's still in place, but yet there's no general manager, no vice president of basketball operations.
Why is he not the president of basketball operations if they want to keep him? I don't understand that.
Everyone's not Brad Stevens.
Yeah, but I love Billy Donovan. You know that. I think Billy Donovan's great.
Listen, that job's not for everybody. That's not for the weak. I know that he likes to put his hands in the dirt and be able to coach talent, but he wants to coach talent in which he can win.
Yeah, and I think all signs point in the direction of him going to Orlando. Yeah, as you're wearing the Orlando shirt. I'll give you one other thing. Everybody talks about Giannis trades, right?
Yes.
What did Shams report? The team that got the closest this year was my team, Miami Heat.
The Heat, yeah.
I would make the argument. I think the Heat are the second most likely Giannis destination in the state of Florida. I think Orlando, if they get bounced by leading with Paolo to get Giannis, and they would likely move on from Jamal Mosley. Hey, Giannis, you got Wagner, you got Carter, you got Suggs, you got Bain, and who do you want to coach the team? Because we got Billy if you want him.
Yeah. It's
kind of I could see that. Don't you think?
There's a mutiny happening in Orlando, and Billy Donovan would be the perfect B2C coach for the Orlando Magic.
And you know what else I would do if I'm Billy? My first phone call. Joe Kim, I need you around here every day. I don't know what role you're in. You're not playing, I'm saying.
Yes.
You're working for the team. I want you back in Florida, and I want you to get everybody grimy. And I'm going to attach you to Giannis. Like,
yeah.
I could just see all this kind of stuff. Like, I could see that.
Yeah. I just think it's time for a fresh coat of paint for Billy, because trying to build from the bottom, that's not what he wants to do. I know he loves Chicago and is handsomely paid and all that, but I don't think that this is the spot for him if he's trying to win, because it's not going to be turned quickly. So am I pushing Billy out of the door? I'm pushing Billy out of the door because it's what's best for him.
Yeah.
Not because he's done a bad job.
Yeah. I think what you're saying is all things make sense. Billy, why would you want to be a part of this? Like, I'm speaking as you, right? How I'm interpreting what Jonathan Hood is saying. Billy, I love Chicago. You love Chicago. I want the Bulls to be great. You want the Bulls to be great. It's going to be too long. Not fair to you. Not fair to the rebuild. Go back to Florida. You were once the coach of Orlando for a minute. You never actually coached a game. Kind of a perfect way to end your Hall of Fame career. Go back to the job that you probably still deep down be like, I kind of spurned them. I feel icky about that. And go get Giannis and call it a day. And then we, like Chicago fans, we will find someone, a czar, that can run this thing. Don't hire Daryl Morey, I'll tell you that much. But you could find somebody to run it that actually puts a structure in place that makes a lot of sense. And now, the problem is who? But I don't have that answer.
But so I'm clear. You agree with me that the plan should be steady, more so than rushing in to just try to throw a bunch of veterans on the roster to try to win now.
Unless Giannis says, I want to go to Chicago.
He owns property here.
So I like the Midwest, and I don't think that's going to happen.
I just want to be able to win, and I know I can't do that in Chicago. Also, not a great reputation. Still a strange, odd reputation about the Chicago Bulls for some free agents and some agents. It's not the destination that it once was years and years ago.
Or that it should be, probably.
It's where we are. Okay. As far as the first round is concerned, what are you looking forward to in the first round? What matchup?
Denver, Minnesota for sure. I mean, isn't that the best first round matchup? Although I am fascinated by the Knicks and the Hawks because the Hawks asked for this. Last game of the season, they're in Miami. They win the game. They're the 4 seed. I'm sorry, they're the 5 seed. Excuse me. They're the 5 seed. And they're playing Cleveland. And they said, we're good. It'll be a 3-way tie. We'll be in the 5 seed anyway. Orlando's gonna beat Boston. And Toronto will beat Brooklyn. Well, guess what? Don't bet against Joe Mazzulla. That guy is unbelievable. And Joe Mazzulla took Jonathan Hood, Evan Cohen, Cap, Waddle, Sylvie, Carmen, Yurko, and won a game against the Magic in that spot. And so they revert back to the 6th spot. Toronto goes to the 5 spot. In a way, they're telling you, we don't care if we play the Knicks. So I'm hoping, in a way, Atlanta, who I like I think the team's a good team, but I kind of hope they get their butts kicked a little bit because I don't like that they were maneuvering and manipulating the system there.
It seems like the Knicks would probably win that, but it's a new look Atlanta. It's amazing what happens when you are free to be able to move the ball from side to side and get others involved. It's amazing how that works.
No direct shot at Trae Young there. By the way, Stephen A. said on First Take he believes that if Mike Brown and the Knicks lose in the first round, that Mike Brown gets fired. If that happens, you then have to open up the Knicks as a Billy D option.
For sure.
From New York, obviously, there's a lot. They wanted him a year ago. There's a huge connection there. I think that Billy D Knicks has to be opened up. Played for them, obviously, for the 1 year. Has to be opened up if Mike Brown were to be somehow let go, which he shouldn't be.
If not Billy D, Doc.
I don't see that one happening.
Why not? I mean, that's just the way it works, Hey, baby, it's not Blake's fault. I'll come back, baby. I'll do it. Baby. Let's bring Doc back. Sure,
what would
Doc.
you say is your best impression? Because you have a lot of good ones.
No, it's just caricatures. I don't do any impression. I'm just doing caricatures.
Oh,
I'm just what I do is I add more personality to the personality.
Okay, got it. Understood.
I'm really good at this, Evan. I'm really good at this. I'm really good at this. I want to talk to you about a frustration that you and I both have as far as the state of the league is concerned. So I heard you talk about this not too long ago about the perception of the league. And for me as a sports fan, I like to be able to discuss two sides. What is right about the sport and what can be fixed. Not what's wrong, but what can be fixed. We always do that. We're always trying to, get the screwdriver, get the Phillip, and just try to tighten the screws on sports that we love. But on the other end, there's a reason why we love sports is because we enjoy watching them. And I think that sometimes this hand is not talked enough about, like this hand is. This was always heavy-handed and talk about things that we don't like. So when we take a look at the league, when you take a look at the job that Commissioner Silver has done, what do you see for this league for this year in 2026 that you feel like the screws should be tightened?
Okay, Adam Silver came in and he's done an amazing job of developing a partnership with the players. And I thought forever that was brilliant because if you think about Adam Silver, he has been true partners with the majority governors, the owners of the team. Obviously, he works directly for them. And I believe he's been true partners with the players. And I thought all along that was really smart. And I think now it was the smart approach, and it was an unbelievable effort. But I don't know that that is actually the right way of doing that. Because I think about, not based on like or dislike, just pure results. The two most successful commissioners of my lifetime would be Roger Goodell and David Stern. In no way, shape, or form would we ever say that they are partners with the players. It is a very clear line, employer and employee. Okay? And I think that Adam Silver has to decide, can I truly be the employer and deliver news to the NBPA, the Players Association, that they don't like and try to enforce it for the good of the league and for the good of them, even if they don't see it now. So when you're asking about what needs to happen moving forward, I think he has to become the boss. Some may say the final boss, but he has to become the boss. And I think that I don't know that that's him. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. But I don't know. Asking someone to be something they're not is hard. And so I know that's a broad answer, but that is my general overall theme. It's less about tanking and scheduling and back-to-back and lottery reform. Can you tell the Players Association, this is what we're doing? And if you don't like it in collectively bargained opportunities, then what you're asking for, even if I like it, I'm going to say no. Because that is something Goodell would do. That is something that Stern would do. And it makes us uncomfortable, right? Because we look at Goodell, and there's probably a lot of things. For years, it was like, oh, my God, he doesn't care about the players. I don't know that his job is to care about the players, as sad as that may sound. His job is to care about the overall health of the league, and hopefully he cares about the players. Let me rephrase. Yes, he cares about the players. He doesn't care about being in partnership with the players. That's a better way of saying actually what I mean.
Roger Goodell coming into the NFL, I called him Sheriff Goodell because of the strength that he showed as the commissioner of the league. It's like he was doing things that we never seen before. I would call his justice the random wheel of justice, because suspensions, 6 games here, 4 games there.
Tons of mistakes with that, by the way. Tons of the Ray Rice situation. I mean,
yeah.
But the Brady suspension is laughable. That was awful. Brady didn't do anything.
But there was strength there, and with Adam Silver, but there was strength there. And he does not have anyone in the office to be able to provide that strength. Not Smiling Tatum in the office across from him. They don't have anyone. I'm talking about the lotteries. The guy that's always
the deputy commissioner. Yeah.
Yes.
And there is a guy I really like, Byron Spruell, who is actually from Chicago. He's in the league office as well. I mean, these are class act individuals that you would want to be CEOs of a company and be in partnership in many ways while employing with the employees. But I don't know that works today in sports.
Maybe the next CBA post LeBron, maybe that changes.
Now, you just went to a place that is uncomfortable but fair. LeBron James is a brilliant businessman. LeBron James is a billionaire. LeBron James is the second greatest player, arguably, in the history of the sport. LeBron James individually has had such an amazing amount of success in the NBA. LeBron James is a healthy face of the league relative to no off the court. Like the off the court stuff is drama with like trading players, not anything that we would actually care about in real life. Don't know that during the LeBron James era of the NBA has necessarily gotten better, because it is the friendship era of the NBA, and that's great. I'm a Michael Stanhausen. Like I'm Michael above all, and Michael wanted to kill you, and there is something pure and amazing about that. And so Michael took the league to different heights. LeBron has been very smart to take the league to a height that was perfect for him. That's not his fault. That's the commissioner's fault for saying, oh, let this prop him up. But is it good for everything else? That's the job as the commissioner. It's, can I make Michael the star? Can I make the NBA the star? And can I make all of the people in and around it, the fans, the teammates, and the partners grow? But sometimes you have to do that with tough decisions.
That is correct. I just feel like you and I, in particular, are always windmilling and fighting people about the NBA. And I still love the league because of the individual stars, but also just the dynamic of the storylines for some of these teams I'm really interested in. But I just feel like, man, I'm fighting a fight every day about the league as much as I want to talk about it. It's like, no, Major League Baseball is better. No, the NFL is better. No, college football is better. And it's just like
the NFL and college football definitively to the masses, not necessarily you and I, definitively is better, right? More people, when you and I do our respective shows, radio, audio, video, TV, whatever we're doing, like ESPN 1000 and ESPN Radio. Well, both of us on ESPN 1000. More people will consume, relate to, and be interested in what we're talking about when it involves a football. That's just the reality. It turns way less people off if we're talking football at the college or pro level. That's it. That's the truth. And our job, as you and I both know, is, yes, to talk about what we're interested in, but it's also to talk about what the fans are interested in. You and I spent more time today breaking down the Bulls than the fans right now care about. They'd rather talk about the Bears special teams than what happens next with Billy Donovan. But the Bulls have done that to themselves. If the Bulls are really good, that would not be the case.
True. In some markets, when they say that the NBA sucks, it's because your team isn't very good. I've said that many times.
Or competitive or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think in South Florida, where I spent many years, I think more people are interested in the Heat than the Dolphins right now because the Dolphins are terrible and directionless. The Heat's version of directionless still is making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, I know it's playing this year, but you know what I mean? Like the last 6 years. Yeah.
When I think about those markets, like even Detroit, even though that's 100% Lions, there's some Pistons talk in there for sure because of how good they've been.
Give them a reason to be interested now. Yeah. And they have a star in Cade Cunningham. And guess what? Guess what the Pistons are not looking to do? Be friends with the opponents. Beef stew. Isaiah Stewart's looking to kick your butt. Jalen Derlin is literally built like Oba. I mean, he's ready to kick your butt, right? And JB Bickerstaff is wonderful as a guide. He's going to give you like sound bites after the game. So yeah, the Pistons have earned their way back into the conversation.
So you have the charts and graphs for Unsportsmanlike. So number 1 in Oklahoma City, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let me see that.
San Antonio.
Okay. Ratings, revenue, mix man. Okay. All right. What else?
I would like to. The last thing I have on my yellow pad is I think that you should work in one wrestling phrase every day to throw off your other teammates.
So I hear the word of the day, but only wrestling.
Yes.
Like, give me an example.
Well, you could use kayfabe, or you can use the term putting something over. Like, hey, I really like this team. I'm going to put them over today. I think that would resonate with the wrestling fan too. There'll be a ding in their brain because they know that you're with them. I can send you a long list, but there's a lot. You know what? I asked Billy Corrigan that question of all things, right? Billy Corrigan, the president of the NWA, Smashing Pumpkins. Yeah. Let me ask you, what's the wrestling phrase you use every day? And he mentioned putting someone over is a phrase. And I said, what's more carny, the music business or the wrestling business? He goes, definitely the music business.
I would think putting somebody over, face, heel, definitely. Pop.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you are cursed. Anything Danhausen at this point.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I do it. I do it a lot with 90s hip hop or random hip hop songs that I'll work in. I'll be more conscious of working in the wrestling just for you.
I think that would work. I think that just using a wrestling phrase a day, lean your.
Now I don't hear you. You cut off your own volume. Still don't hear you. This is amazing. This is an amazing way. You have to keep this in the podcast. The fact that you just now I hear you. Now I hear you. The fact that Jonathan Hood is trying to do a Smallman bit with his phone, knocks out his own audio, is a perfect way to end the show.
Yeah, this I have minutes on this. It's almost over, so I got to return this back to the store. So that's why. That's why I bought this from the
wireless.
Yes, I bought this from the beeper company down the street here.
God.
Yeah, Southside Wireless. So I got to return it. So that means I got to go. So,
thank you, Jay Hood.
I appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.